Donald Trump has also helped us by adding 14% on top of it. Now we are hearing that inflation is still going up, insecurity is there. So, and Dr. Yusuf said that the government is supposed to be helping to reduce some of these challenges. My question to you, from your assessment and engagement with the government, are they engaging you enough, your private sector associations, or what other ways can you suggest for better engagement and better delivery of government policies?
Thank you very much and good afternoon. In that government needs to collaborate, engage particularly the private sector. From the sector that I represent, one recurring decimal over the decades. And that's why we always have the same thing over the years. There is no change, there is no shift. We've been saying it that you don't need to only regulate us. We need to have a handshake, a strong handshake as that matter. It's important for us to always co-create policies, particularly the one that has to do with our sector. It's important to engage key stakeholders in monitoring policies, in implementing policies, in evaluating policies. And that's the only way it can work. And when it comes to policies, it should also be from ab initio, from the beginning. You don't just come up and regulate some sector of the economy, some sector of the private sector, and leave others. In Nigeria here, we have a number of strata when it comes to the private sector, that it is not a one-size-fits-all, whereby one policy will work for everybody in the society. As we speak today, you look at the private sector, particularly the SME sector, you discover that 85.5% of them belongs to the nano sector. This is very, very key to the economy because it's the largest part of the SME sector. But government is not focusing on this. Many of them are not even regulated. All the bulk of the regulation comes from the less than 15% that form the S and the M of the enterprise sector, which is not really the best. If we really want to grow the economy and we don't focus on this nano sector, it will be difficult for us to be able to build them, groom them, and have small, medium-sized enterprises that will be able to grow the economy. For us, it's not just about coming up with policies. We also want to have government listen to us. We want them to support us. We want them to join hands with us in making their policies. Without that, the story will always continue to be the same. Again, for us, we believe that we are very resilient. We are very adaptable. Adaptability is in our DNA. But even as that, resilience without strategic support system is not sustainable. We need government to be able to build structures, put institutions in place, as was mentioned the other time, that can help us to be able to drive policies. And when policies are being made, we should be able to come back and evaluate the effectiveness, the impact of those policies, and see if it is the same route to go the next time. Let me give you a case in question. We have a number of intervention programs that the federal government has done over the decades, government to government. You ask yourself, what has been the impact of these intervention programs on the MSME sector? How many small business owner has been able to migrate to become medium-sized and big-sized enterprises over the years? How many small business owners in the last 10 years have come to become the Dangotes of today? You can hardly find one. And that means there's a big mismatch. There's a problem. There's a big gap that government needs to pay attention to. And government cannot understand every sector without actually sitting down with the key stakeholders to know where the shoe pinches them and provide collective solutions to it. Without that being done, we'll be going around the same circle. And we have gone around that circle enough. This is a time for us to change. In the MSME sector, we don't need pity. Government does not need to pity us. Rather, we need to work with them. We need to be able to talk together. It's not inviting us only when it is time to validate policies. We want to co-create it together. And that's the only way we can work. Nigerian MSMEs are ready to work. We are very, very resilient. We are innovative. And we are ready to support the economy. And that's the only way we can create jobs. That's the only way we can reduce poverty. That's the only way we can grow the economy. So collaboration, when it comes to policy making, is key. And government must begin to focus on bringing key stakeholders in every sector to make policies that will work with each and every one of us if we must grow the economy.
So I will soon open it up for questions from your engagement with the government. Is the problem, from your own assessment, related to administrative incapacity or something?
The word engagement can create a tricky misunderstanding or misconception. We gave the minister some of this feedback. It will be a level of engagement. And if the minister... so by the way, there is Indonesia, Malaysia, how these countries grew was there was a consensus in the private sector and a consensus in government that we will co-deliver economic transformation. That's not a meeting. That's not a regional or annual summit. That's not a quarterly briefing. No. That's that if we say today we want to transform the energy sector, the energy plan will have two sides. What government must do, what business must do, and accountability and responsibility mechanisms to check that everybody is doing what they're doing, right? And then we all will come and report to the country. Then you say we are engaging. So when you say engagement, that's what we mean. Now, if you take 5 areas that can be transformative today, in fact, what I call the arc of the possible. 1, component of that infrastructure stock is at least 75%. In other words, if you depoliticized it, if you de-risked it today, that infrastructure will be attractive to global and local investments. What the private sector axes in an engagement is, we will bring our capital if this infrastructure meets these incentives and conditions. What the government then needs to deliver is reforms that create incentive design that deliver those conditions for the capital to come. Ports, rail, road, energy, all the infrastructure will respond to an engagement like that. It's not enough to say we have an infrastructure stock for $3 trillion when I can't invest in a seaport tomorrow morning without bottlenecks that will almost chase me out of the country. It's not enough to say come and invest in oil and gas when divesting onshore for an entity took almost 7.5 years. And offshore, those of them prospecting offshore have waited for a decade. So in practical terms, engagements must translate into consensus for action, contracts and compacts for delivery, accountability mechanisms said. Government officials said it locally and internationally. Now today, refinery is ready with the capacity to produce 3 weeks of our 4 weeks consumption as a country at lower prices, right? High quality, and then stories then start. Now, it's that disconnect, not at the level of talking, please, but the level of the consistency of regulations, the consistency of policy, the transparent execution of these policies with accountability and reporting. But on both sides, because you see, if Dangote did not build the refinery, then we should have also held Dangote accountable, right? That we gave you all these incentives as a country to build something. Where is it? Because, by the way, in our last 25 years, there are some times in Nigeria where the government gave unfair advantage to private sector entities they've cultivated. We in the private sector will declare what we've cultivated. What did you plant on the land? We'll declare the seed varieties we're using, and the yield factor government will declare the same. Then businesses that need input for local production can take position, supported by government that gives them development finance, leveraging single-digit credit to take position in the food commodity market. Now, that's what you call consultation that converts into public-private collaboration for growth. Then at the end of the year, if we deliver 20 million tons of maize, maybe an overproduction of 10 million tons, then AFEX and the rest will now be given some additional lines of credit to store what we have. So consultation is a low terminology to describe. What we are discussing is a public-private development interface where the partnerships deliver national competitive advantage. That's more hard work than conferences. Even the annual summit can't deliver it. That's my own annual summit. It takes all of us working together. And Dr. Kalem makes an important point. This year and the global vulnerabilities means that we now don't have time. In the next 24 months, even this country will be in an electoral cycle and the politicians will be distracted. So you have 20 months maximum of serious thinking and execution on energy. We can do it with PMS. On electricity, look, you can deliver a subsea gas pipeline in 12 months that delivers 12,000 megawatts of power. You know, food, you can double the production of.
They would organize and come to the university and ask us to bring out all the research results and so on, because the government is interested in knowing what we have done and so on, and everybody will be so excited. Oh, they want to know, and to organize all these results and some results, but once they go away, that's the end of the matter. Now, the private sector, why is it that you are not interested? Why is it that you are not interested in coming to the universities to find out what results they have? Enormous results in the university for local content of energy. I want to take one single field that can supersede this other field that came from Asia. Some of us have been meeting for years and years. It's not irrelevant. Now, she was talking about training young people. Now, why I'm mentioning about today is that in Academy of Engineering, we have a committee. And I chair that committee. In fact, I should be at a meeting right now, where we are encouraging the training young people. Until the last night, somebody was showing us about a kilometer long of environmental leaves. Not 1 kilometer of road, a kilometer long of environmental leaves. They don't go to school, they are not employed, and the same thing is beginning to happen even in the South here. We have 5-year graduates who have no jobs. And this is where we should be concerned. Let's leave government alone if they don't want to help us. She is doing something which I am And in this committee, what we are doing is take
Dr. Tayo, I believe, so much enamored by your presentation. You have thought like an economist and a good politician. Fine. Sir, you said that institutions, strong institutions, strong people, that individuals can drive the nation. Especially I have a little problem because we have institutions.
As a social responsibility, we need to take the development of our nation into hands. For the private sector to thrive, you need skilled workers. So it's time I'm urging private sectors who are well represented here to
and also on need to train the youths because of the increasing number of out-of-school children that are not doing anything from the north to south and from the south to the north. Then the question specifically to Tayo was, what particular policy will you recommend that will help to take Nigeria out of this present situation? And then to Ogafemi, is the best way can we engage the youths? And the last question says, what steps can he do or can he take to prepare himself for Nigeria's future economy, global challenges? Dr. Tayo, please.
It's always a set of VVIPs together. Just really get the work done and hold these war room type scenario meetings on a weekly, sometimes daily basis until the work is done. Now, if you can run Nigeria like that for 12 months where things don't get bad before we economic transformation is usually delivered by a coherent group of leaders committed to a short, medium, and long-term agenda, supported by institutions that are properly aligned with a coherent set of non-performance, accept their non-performance, some sanctions, some rewards, and the system will change, right? The system will then adjust to respond to the new incentives. So incentives matter. Same for the private sector. In this country, we prosecuted 15% GDP growth in the last 25 years. There was a year we hit 15% GDP growth rate. How did we do it? Incentives that forced more Nigerians to keep their money here and foreign investors to bring their money here. So again, if you design the right incentives, even in a crisis, somebody spoke about a crisis, in the economic zone, because of the incentives in the economic zone, Dangote put $20 billion in the economic zone.
There's an agreement that we have a challenge, either from the current trends arising from America, sudden policy somersault. People, we have identified the problem within the context of our time. But for you, you are going to meet a different Nigeria, a different world, which will also have its own challenges and opportunities. You are not unaware of a man called Elon Musk. He's trying to replace humans with machines. So that is the generation which you are going to operate. So it's not left for you. You are already being told that you may not be able to be employed or your profession may not work. It's not true. I don't think machine can completely replace all of us. It is the people who refuse to embrace technology that machines will replace. If you embrace technology, you use machine in a better way to make yourself relevant to whatever you are doing. So as a young person, I'm very jealous of your age and the time you are coming up. Because you are going to be saved of all the problems we talked about today. You are going to have your own unique problem. Maybe the machines may be fighting themselves. That is left for you to resolve. But what is important, I want to assure you that you are growing up in a country where the entrepreneurship of the private sector has been established and recognized. If you have nothing inspiring you, all you need to go into these are free trade zones. And most of them, they will have various training platforms. In fact, I'm setting up something with a German chamber. You go in Germany, they'll pay you salaries and you get trained and decide to either stay there as a skilled labor or you come back to Nigeria. So you don't need to go through Libya or go through, try to swim. You can go legally now. So don't let anybody deceive you. All those things are for people who are lazy. And also very important, we have a huge problem in our country. The problem of pressing laptop. I don't want to call the name because but let me tell you one secret. If you build an app, you will be like Mark Zuckerberg. But if you want to be pressing in your university now, because you want to buy Camry,
Hello and welcome to Biscon TV News. I am Jones Hussein. First, the headline stories. Benue lawmaker links insecurity to lack of local government autonomy. Federal government warns against rising cyber slavery. In business, U.S. criticizes Nigeria over trade barriers and port corruption. In foreign news, Canada elects new government amid U.S. tensions. And in sports, Juve pull out of Osimhen race after a €100 million demand. Now the news in detail. The People's Democratic Party, the PDP, has scheduled an emergency meeting for Tuesday to address the wave of defections that have hit the party, especially in Delta State. Top figures like former vice presidential candidate Ifeanyi Okowa, Delta State Governor Sheriff Oborevori, and the entire Delta PDP structure recently joined the ruling All Progressives Party Congress, APC, in what is now termed Hurricane Tinubu. The PDP, facing deep internal crises and leadership challenges, is struggling to prevent further losses that could cripple its competitiveness ahead of the 2027 elections. The National Working Committee, NWC, of the party aims to find strategies to stop the defections and restore stability, despite internal divisions and leadership growing trend of cyber slavery, where Nigerian youths were trafficked abroad under false job promises and forced into cybercrime operations. The Minister of Foreign Affairs, Yusuf Tuga, warned that young Nigerians were increasingly being lured into cyber scam factories abroad, subjected to inhumane conditions, and made to participate in massive fraud schemes. A recent case in Ghana, where several victims were rescued, has highlighted the urgency of the issue. The government urged Nigerians to be cautious of overseas job offers, especially those linked to crypto industries. In business, let's tell you that the United States has criticized Nigeria for delaying import approvals for American agricultural products and highlighted widespread corruption at Nigerian ports. In its 2025 National Trade Estimate Report, the United States Trade Representative's Office accused Nigeria of inconsistent application of trade rules, excessive tariffs, and manual customs processes that create long clearance delays and force reliance on informal channels. The report also slammed Nigeria's continued import bans on several goods and systemic corruption within the customs service. But the Nigeria Customs Service has pushed back, calling the U.S. claim unfair and outdated. However, the U.S. insists that Nigerians will go on another break and come back with foreign news. Welcome back. In foreign news, we can tell you that Canadians head to the polls today to elect a new government capable of standing up to U.S. President Donald Trump's increasingly aggressive trade and annexation threats. Mark Carney, newly installed Liberal Prime Minister and former central banker, has gained momentum in the final days of the campaign, positioning himself as the experienced hand needed to navigate and reduce dependence on the U.S., warning voters that America's Canada, Trump's America, can no longer be trusted. His conservative rival, Pierre Poilievre, has focused on domestic issues like crime and the cost of living, blaming a decade of Liberal governance for Canada's vulnerabilities. Show him as the frontrunner. To entertainment news. Welcome back. We can tell you that the South-South chapter of the All Progressives Congress, APC, has given popular social media influencer Martins Vincent Ose, aka Very Dark Man, or VDM, 1 week to apologize for what it described as disparaging comments against Senate President Godswill Akpabio. In a viral video, VDM criticized Akpabio for attending the funeral of Pope Francis at the Vatican, while violent crises continued in several Nigerian states. He labeled Akpabio's trip as shameful, suggesting he should have stayed in Nigeria to address urgent issues. Reacting, APC Zonal Organizing Secretary Blessing Abome.
Legally now, so don't let anybody deceive you. All those things are for people who are lazy. And also very important, we have a huge problem in our country, the problem of pressing laptop. I don't want to call the name because but let me tell you one secret. If you build an app, you will be like Mark Zuckerberg. But if you want to be pressing in your university now, because you want to buy Camry, you will go to prison. You know that. So if you check in the last 10 years, all the 419, show me which of them still of the latest, go and adopt another father. Not that I cannot afford it, but it's unfair to her. So also for you too, for you. And most importantly, support your teachers. Don't know more than them. Don't show that you know too much. Be humble. The empty vessel makes the loudest noise. So finally, to all our members, we want to sincerely thank the organizers of this event. Our came here, they say I'm a betrayer. Which we don't have capacity to develop. You are like a native doctor who has a herb and died with it without writing a book or giving to his children. So that certificate you are sitting on top of that certificate, somebody else is going to use it. I might as well have 1% of it and live a better life than to always be afraid of what I don't know, that I think is serial optimist. He's not interested in controlling everything, but he just wants to make something out of it. Nigeria. So, on a lighter note, we are very grateful for the wonderful turnout. We want to also thank our press. Even though we blame you at times, you have done a lot for us. You are not great. So, on a more serious note, I want to say thank you. And also the MC too, who I almost managed to collect your girlfriend. He mistakenly gave me his paper with some numbers inside. And I now say, if not because of
(11 a.m. prompt). Venue, Abraham Tabernacle, Oba Irinwole Road, GRA, Shagamu, Ogun State. Chief host, His Excellency, the Senator, Otumba Benga Daniel, CON, the Ashiwaju of Remo Christians. The Choir Festival, improving the art of singing in our churches. Media partners include TVC News, Channels News, Arise TV, BOS and Biscon TV, and others.
This is a BC Olatile show, the flagship world TV talk shows in Africa. Need I say that? And today we have an illustrious son of Africa who has decided to grace this occasion with his very esteemed presence. For so many years, he was the High Commissioner of Trinidad and Tobago in Nigeria. I'm talking about Ambassador Patrick Edwards, High Commissioner of Trinidad and Tobago in Nigeria. Nice to meet you. And I'd like you to cast your mind back when you first set your foot on Nigerian soil. When was this?
That was on July the 1st, 1981 when the British Airways flight from London stopped over at Kano. And of course, passengers alighted, and those who were going on to Lagos had to remain. But I walked out to the stop of the aircraft and looked around and breathed in the Nigerian air. And deep into my soul, I said, so this is Africa.
So that's the first time in Africa?
First time in Africa. So I said, this is Africa. This is Nigeria. And I inhaled. And I said,
The Nigerian air.
This is the land of my ancestors.
How long have we been here altogether?
If you include my first manifestation of first coming to Nigeria and the second, collectively it would be roughly 8.5 years.
Okay.
No, 7.5, 5, no, 7.5 roughly. Yeah.
Okay. That's wonderful. What similarities have we been able to decipher between us as people, the Trinidadians and the Nigerians?
Trinidad and Tobago is a very, very mixed society. As one historian said, it's a polyglot society. 40% of our population originally came from West Africa. That is during the great age of slavery, 18th, 19th centuries, 17th, 18th, 19th centuries. The other 40% came from India during the great age of indentureship. That gives you 80%. The remaining 20% comprise people from China, from the Middle East, from Spain, from Holland, from France, all over Europe. So that has produced a mixture of people. So I am seeing similarities, but I'm seeing differences. There are similarities in us in terms of, let's say for instance, religion. Most of the people who came to Trinidad from Nigeria or Yoruba ancestry, we had a few Igbos. In fact, strangely enough, we had a few Hausa because I'm from the south of Trinidad. And the rural part is a trace. If you go up there, they call Hausa trace, Haussa. And I used to ask my father when he was alive, Hausa. And they said, no, they had people from Africa that used to live here called Hausa. But it wasn't the Hausa, but Haussa.
Okay.
So you have that sort of a connection. Then Orisha, very, very strong. All the deities. Of course, we worship somewhat differently here. I think down here, every deity has its own shrine. In Trinidad, it's different. Within one shrine, you'd have 5, 6, 7, 8 deities. So you have Shango, you have Shapana, you have Ibiji and Ibija, you have Osain, you have Oya, all the deities.
That's right.
And so the similarities are there. Okay. We worship, in fact, our own sometimes we tend to follow the Orthodox. So whatever of the songs you sing in the Yoruba language, when you're practicing the religion, tend to be the type of Yoruba intonation that you get in, say, 1910.
So interesting, and that's a very good tip for the students of history and all of that. Now, who are you married to?
I am married to a very charming, erudite, sometimes quiet, but beautiful woman. Smiled upon me when we entered university. In fact, I entered university in 1968, and she entered in 1969 at the university. And that was my second year, she was in the first year. And of course, at the university, the seniors looked down on the juniors who were coming in and, what they call grub week. Now, there's a little dispute between us. I recall it was in grub week. She said, no, it wasn't in grub week, it was a week after grub week. But I was so mesmerized by the lady, I've lost track of time. And the mesmerization is still there.
And it will be there eternally.
Perpetually, eternally.
Now, what did you first tell her? Can you paint a scenario of exactly your first moves toward telling her about your mind and your intentions?
Well,
the exact words, if you can remember that.
So both of them were walking out of the campus going towards home because they were living off campus and I was living off campus talkative, but she was always sedate, always reserved, always very quiet. Someone chatting nicely. But then my eyes fell on her And then her friend said, look, my friend, why not instead of me? So, of course, I spoke with her, but very reserved, very distinguished, and perhaps looking down at this senior who's trying to show off his seniority, against the junior. And from one thing to the next, and gradually, the friendship of her friend was transposed over to her. It was a tough nut to crack, I can tell you. Very reserved, looking out, but I persevered. And it has paid off handsomely since then.
Now, how does she know if you're in a troubled state?
And depending upon the nature of the issue, if it's work, tremendous amount of work, or whether it's some problem, family problem of another nature, the mood changes and it varies. Either I become more reserved, more quiet, more pensive, more contemplative. Very little communication. And I think she would try to find out what it is. You're not your normal Joe for herself. And then, the information comes out as a case.
All right, that's good enough. Now, tell me this one. Her shoe size, what is it? Her trouser size, what is it? Her skirt size, what is it?
I really don't know. Because she's such an independent person, she wouldn't allow me to buy any shoes for her.
I like that.
She wouldn't allow me to buy her clothes for her. She would invite me to come along, but she would do all the selection. It's a spirit of independence in that quarter.
And giving her that. That's very good. Now, if I ask questions like this of most of my guests, I'm going to repeat this. If for any reason you decide to take another wife, what will be her reaction?
The wife will have nobody to marry because I'm a damn crunch now. No, she would never tolerate.
She wouldn't tolerate that?
No, she wouldn't tolerate that, not at all.
Okay. What kind of a person are you?
I like to think, and I hope she would concur with me in this area. I would like to think I'm a family man. I really look after my family. I'm very close to my family. Although at times they tend to believe that I spend more time at my work, I'm more dedicated to my work and getting the job done.
You're married to work.
This is what the way they say sometimes. But short of the work, I would spend a lot of time with the family once the occasion presents itself. Now, of course, after the girls have grown up, they are university, they're moving into adolescence. Some of the children want to have their space. Of course, not give them their space. But behind that is the thought that the family is there. And as head of the family, one has to look after one's family, both economically, psychologically, spiritually, physically, etc. In this omnibus sense.
All right. I remember the very first car that you bought. Remember the number of the car?
In fact, the very first car I had was a car my mother bought for me when I was... No, the very first car was my parents' car when I was in A-level. They used to do A-levels at school. They used to give me the car because being their only child, I had done well at O-levels, very studious, very respectful, ideal child. My father allowed me to use this car to go to school in sixth form at times. Not every day, but on certain occasion. Then I went to university and I graduated with honors, BA, lower second class honors, and my mother was so proud, she bought a car. It was a Vauxhall Viva, a yellow motor car. Now the number was, I can't recall the number, but it was a yellow car, new brand car, and she said, that is for passing the exam.
When, of all your children, do you have a favorite? How many of them in the first place?
Well, 3 girls, no boys.
Okay.
I think I like all of them. But each child has some distinctive characteristics about them.
Wonderful. Well, I mean, we've been talking to His Excellency Patrick Edwards, the outgoing High Commissioner of Trinidad and Tobago in Nigeria. Now we should meet the lovely wife. Mrs. Diane Edwards. And how do you say hello to each other? I mean, the world is watching you. This goes beyond handshakes.
Ah, my dear, come.
How are you?
I'm fine, thanks.
Nice to see you.
Nice seeing you too.
Looking really gorgeous, just like you described you.
Thank you.
So now, and go straight to you and your husband. He told us quite a lot about you and how you both started. I'd like you to corroborate some of those stories. Where did you meet? When was this? And what was the exact, scenario? I can't remember what he told you.
I met through a friend of mine. I don't know whether he remembered how we met, but I knew, right? He was taking her out. It was at lunchtime, and somehow, I don't know, I met them going out, and, I just, said hello and so on, and I passed them, and I looked back at them, and he looked back at the same time. And I think it was then.
There was some eye contact?
Yes. I think it was then that Cupid released its arrow.
And struck both of you.
Well, I think it struck him.
Yes.
Right. Because soon after, I left a class late one evening, and he was waiting outside for me. I don't know if you remembered all this, but I remember that. He was waiting outside for me, and I was with another friend, and then he started, just talking about, getting married, and when you get married, I don't even know whether he remember all this, but I remembered it.
Well, how would you describe him?
Very hardworking, right, dedicated, right, to the family, right, but his middle name is Brooke.
Brooke?
Right.
He's a worm.
Yes, he's a workaholic.
Okay.
Yes.
I asked him if he has a favorite amongst the children.
In fact, we were just discussing it, and with some other friends, and I think the last one is most like him.
Okay.
Vibrant, friendly, and yes, like to meet people, outgoing, right? Whereas the other two are, are pretty much reserved.
Well, it was the name of the very first car that he drove, the number, most probably.
The first car I drove, that was after.
He drove.
Oh, that he drove. Oh, I can't remember the number, but I know it was his parents' car, because he used to drive it to campus sometimes, but I can't remember the number. Yes, but it was his parents' car. And then after that, he got a yellow car. I used to call it a yellow bird. A yellow car with red upholstery.
I like that. What if he just goes crazy, like they say, and wants to pick up another wife?
Not at all. Never happened.
He will never do it?
Of course not.
But what if he does it? How would you react? I actually asked him how you react.
I don't think he's that crazy.
He's not that crazy?
No, he's not that crazy.
No, okay, that's all right. I asked him to give us your shoe size, your trouser size, your skirt size, and he drew blank on it. Help him out.
Do I have to reveal those sizes? Yeah, it's just that when it comes to buying things for myself, I usually do it myself.
Exactly.
Because, yes, because to a certain extent, I like very simple clothes. And I know if I send him to buy, he'd buy something a little too, too elaborate.
Okay.
So that is why I really prefer to go out and buy my things. Now, sometimes he accompanies me, but he doesn't actually come into the store. He prefers to stop to wait outside for me.
Because the kind of things you want, he wouldn't know.
Yes. So that is why I really, I really go out and buy my.
Now, you're leaving Nigeria now. What would you miss most about Nigeria?
well, to a certain extent the food, right? I like Nigerian food a lot. Abuja, the peacefulness of Abuja, right? That laid back atmosphere, right? I miss that to a certain extent. And I guess the warmth of the people. Yes, the warmth and friendliness of the people. Yes, and Nigeria is a place where, even when I was here in the 80s, you know, you never know what may happen day to day. You know, there's always something exciting, you know, going on. Right, the social life, you know, all the ceremonies and so on. I'll certainly miss that about the place.
Very, very much, Your Excellency, Patrick Edwards, and Mother Diane Edwards. Thank you very much, and I wish you all the best as you go back. I'm sure we'll have fond memories of Nigeria as your brothers in the diaspora. Thank you very much again.
Latino Show couple game segment, and we have the most esteemed and distinct honor to have in our midst today the Right Honorable Dr. Olorunnimbe Adeleke Mamawura. He has just hit gold. You could call him a golden boy. We decided to have a special one for him and his wife, but let's talk to him first, and we'd like to welcome you to the show.
The boss. Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me.
Congratulations, sir.
Thank you.
How does it feel to be 50 so that I can get used to it? It's my year as well.
Wait until you get there. But it feels good. I must say. It feels good, and I have every reason to thank God for taking me thus far.
And I want to really congratulate you.
Thank you.
It's been a season of a harvest of goodwill. You've invested so much in people, and you've gotten the result now. This shows you to face what you're doing.
Thank you so much.
Now we're talking about you and your wife, and very commonplace questions about both of you. Let me see if you can remember this. At what age did your wife go to primary school? And the name of the primary school, would you like to tell us this?
Wow. She's school, you know, the primary education.
Okay. But you can't remember the year now?
Seriously, I can't.
Okay. I mean, we'll let that pass. But your very first car, what make was it? Can you remember the number?
The very first one, I can't remember the number, but I remember that it's a B2, a blue B2 car, and LABK. But the number I can't remember is, in fact, my friends will say Labake. So LABK.
Okay. Okay, then let's go back to University of Ife, and that was where you actually met your wife, like we got to know. You want to paint the scenario of your meeting all over again? You want to reenact it?
Well, my friends and myself, we decided to organize a party, which we called Chiroma in those days. So we had a party, and she was there as one of the freshers, you know. And then, of course, there she was, looking radiant and beautiful. And then, so I decided to toast her, you know. And that was it. That was how it started. Yes, and then thereafter the relationship grew, you know.
Well, what did she say was the thing that actually made her decide it was you?
Well, there must have been so many factors, you know, considered by her. But she never failed to acknowledge the fact that she admired my smile, you know. At least, you know, that first...
so your smiles did the trick. Okay. All right. Your wife, she's not been living in Lagos, you know, all her life. Has she? What I wanted to know actually is when she actually came to Lagos on a permanent basis, first
came
time.
to Lagos permanently after completing her youth corps. That was in 1981, thereabout.
Okay.
Because after the university education, which she completed in 3 years, 76 to 79, she had youth corps in I think 79, 80. Then she took up appointment with First Bank from 81, and ever since she's been in Lagos.
Good. Now, this other question, let us see your response to it. How would your wife react to a situation where you take a second wife?
To start with, I have never thought of it. I will never think of it. I will never do it. I think one wife is enough. So it won't even happen. By the grace of God, it won't happen because don't forget I have a very small family. So why do I need a second wife?
Okay.
I don't need a second wife, so it won't happen.
She'll be very happy to hear this. But you have a set of twins. When exactly did you have them? And one special event that stood out when you had them?
You see, it was a thing of joy having a set of twins. You know, our first son, Muyosore came in 85, and then nothing happened until almost 8 years later when we had a set of twins, and that was in 1993. If I remember, it was it was during the crisis that followed the annulment of late Bashir Remke's election. Yes, I remember quite well. In fact, if I had to take her to hospital myself right in the night, and you could remember, you remember all this burning of a lot of things on the road and all
disturbances
that.
and so on.
So it came in precisely July 27, 1993. The election was it was June 12th to be precise.
Okay.
And then the twins come in July. So there's no way I will forget because things were still very hot, particularly in Lagos and all that. Yes.
This will be the final one before we ask your very lovely wife to come in. When your wife sleeps, what parts of the bed does she turn towards? Does she turn to the left or right or in the middle?
She tends to sleep face down. She lies on her belly.
Okay. That is a regular thing. She doesn't change it every once in a while or something?
Well, once in a while, yes, she does. Of course, once in a while when she does, then of course, now of course she sleeps facing me.
Okay.
That means she will lie on the right side.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, now we must call in the wife, the very beautiful wife, Mrs. Olanlisi Mamora. She'll be joining us in a short while. And you haven't greeted each other the way I'd like you to. I hope you guys got it. All right. Congratulations, my sister.
Thank you very much.
You have been, in the last 1 week, savoring this very special status of being the wife of a golden boy. How does it make you feel yourself?
I feel good. I feel great. I feel grateful to God.
Good. And I must say that yours is a blessed marriage, and the Lord will continue to bless it.
Amen.
Good. Now, I have been talking to him, asking those very simple questions that bother him, trying to know how much of each other that you really know, in fact. At what age did you go to primary school?
Did who?
You go to primary school. And what primary school was this? What year?
I went formed in 1964. I was 5 years old, and it was St. John's Demonstration School. Did you get that right?
He was one short of it. He said 6 years. I think he got it. Well, he tried. Then another question is to do with these questions are not coming in a particular order, not sequential and all that, but these questions were asked. This is to do with you and him, University of Ife. How did you see it? How did you meet each other?
I think that's an easy one.
Okay.
Because we've been asked that question over and over again.
Okay.
I think we met, was it at Morimi Hall, with a group of friends. There was a party, myself and my friend.
Oh, your friend, sorry.
My group of friends, his group of friends.
Okay.
We met there.
Okay. And one thing led to the other, as I normally say. But what was that thing that sold him out? That's, I mean, you just made up your mind it was going to be him.
You want me to make him feel good again?
But it's not his fault that he's looking the way he's looking.
Appearance.
Okay. And one other thing apart from that. How about the smiles and all that?
Of course. I didn't want to mention that.
Okay.
I don't want it to feel too good.
Okay. No, I mean, he has to feel good. Then, what car did he first buy? Can you remember?
Yes.
The number of the car, the make of the car?
The Volkswagen Beetle, LAB 364K.
He called it something to do with Lavaka or something.
Yes. We used to call it Lavaka.
Okay. Now, when you sleep, I asked him, what direction do you face?
Direction in what sense? Are you talking north, south, or backing him, facing him?
No, well, let's say left, right, forward, backwards.
Can you define the left?
No, wherever you're facing is your left, and left. Just take the position from where you're sitting.
Okay, the position.
Let's simulate a situation where we have
the left.
The left. Do you face down? Do you sleep on your belly or something?
Yes, I do.
Okay, because he said that.
Usually towards my left.
Okay, exactly. That's what he told us. But you have a set of twins. Thank God for them. I asked him when you had them, and to paint the kind of scenario that went with you having them. What year was this? And so.
That was in 1994, 27th of July to be precise.
Okay. And what was in the air then? Yeah. What can you remember, about...
Within the family or
generally, well, I mean, that surrounded having them. Did you take you to the hospital and so on and so forth?
He did. He took me to the hospital in the evening. It was during the June 12th crisis, and I started having these pains in the evening, although I told him that we should hold on a while.
Okay.
But it wasn't too comfortable. One, because of the crisis, and secondly, because we knew I was carrying a set of twins.
Okay.
So we took me to the hospital. We called a doctor, my ever faithful Dr. Emmanuel.
Okay.
St. Nicholas Hospital then. And my doctor told him that he should go back home. He said, actually go back home or go and have a bottle of Gouda. Then you come back in the morning and your wife would have put to bed. But he tarried a while and he went back home actually.
Okay.
Came back later.
And the good news was broken to him. Okay, congratulations on that. Then I said, what if he has a brain wave and decides to get a second wife? How would you react? Okay.
I will not leave that home, not for anybody.
All right. No problem. He said he would never ever, not even in his wildest dreams, that he loves you so much and you give him peace of mind. Why would he be going out? Thank you very much, brother.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations again. I'll meet you there, just like the governor said. Obama Mbedi.
welcome to Biscon TV News. I am Jones Hussein. First, the headline stories. Benue lawmaker links insecurity to lack of local government autonomy. Federal government warns against rising cyber slavery. In business, U.S. criticizes Nigeria over trade barriers and port corruption. In foreign news, Canada elects new government amid U.S. tensions. And in sports, Juve pull out of Osimhen race after a 100 million euro demand. Now the news in detail. The People's Democratic Party, the PDP, has scheduled an emergency meeting for Tuesday to address the wave of defections that have hit the party, especially in Delta State. Top figures like former vice presidential candidate Ifeanyi Okowa, Delta State Governor Sheriff Oborevori, and the entire Delta PDP structure recently joined the ruling All Progressives Party, Congress, APC, in what is now termed Hurricane Tinubu. The PDP, facing deep internal crises and leadership challenges, is struggling to prevent further losses that could cripple its competitiveness ahead of the 2027 elections. The National Working Committee, NWC, of the party aims to find strategies to stop the defections and restore stability, despite internal divisions and leadership battles, such as the conflict over the National Secretary position. The PDP has also seen over 300 defections between February 2024 and February 2025, with similar crises affecting other opposition parties like the NNPP and Labour Party. The meeting is seen as critical to the party's survival amid fears of Nigeria drifting toward a one-party state. Hear this now. A member of the Benue State House of Assembly, Isaac Agbo, has blamed the worsening insecurity in Nigeria on the lack of financial autonomy for local governments. Speaking at a security summit at Makurdi, Agbo accused state governors of withholding funds meant for local councils, making it difficult for them to address security issues at the grassroots. He also called on the military to intensify efforts in protecting local communities and urged for greater transparency in security spending. Other contributors at the summit, including security consultants and government officials, echoed Agbo's concerns. They highlighted the need for better trust and cooperation between communities and security agencies. Criticism was also directed at the misuse of security votes by governors, which calls for more visible investments in local security infrastructure. The summit concluded with a strong plea for vigilance, accountability, and renewed commitment to restoring peace in Benue State. The federal government has raised alarm over a growing trend of cyber slavery, where Nigerian youths were trafficked abroad under false job promises and forced into cybercrime operations. The Minister of Foreign Affairs, Yusuf Tuga, warned that young Nigerians were increasingly being lured into cyber scam factories abroad, subjected to inhumane conditions, and made to participate in massive fraud schemes. A recent case in Ghana, where several victims were rescued, has highlighted the urgency of the issue. The government urged Nigerians to be cautious of overseas job offers, especially those linked to crypto industries or promising quick riches. Victims, often including teenagers, are trapped in abusive cybercrime rings once abroad. The ministry assured that the government was working with international partners to dismantle these syndicates, rescue victims, and prosecute traffickers, while also intensifying public awareness campaigns to protect Nigerian citizens. We'll go on a break now and return with business news. Welcome back. In business, let's tell you that the United States has criticized Nigeria for delaying import approvals for American agricultural products and highlighted widespread corruption at Nigerian ports. In its 2025 National Trade Estimate Report, the United States Trade Representative's Office accused Nigeria of inconsistent application of trade rules, excessive tariffs, and manual customs processes that create long clearance delays and force reliance on informal channels. The report also slammed Nigeria's continued import bans on several goods and systemic corruption within the customs service. But the Nigeria Customs Service has pushed back, calling the U.S. claim unfair and outdated. However, the U.S. insists that Nigeria's import system remained a major trade barrier, hindering access for American exporters. In addition, the report criticized public procurement practices and weak intellectual property enforcement, while also expressing concerns over Nigeria's digital trade restrictions. Although Nigeria has initiated some modernization efforts, progress has been slow and complicated by legal disputes. We'll go on another break and come back with foreign news. Welcome back. In foreign news, we can tell you that Canadians head to the polls today to elect a new government capable of standing up to U.S. President Donald Trump's increasingly aggressive trade and annexation threats. Mark Carney, newly installed Liberal Prime Minister and former central banker, has gained momentum in the final days of the campaign, positioning himself as the experienced hand needed to navigate tensions with the United States. Carney has promised to diversify Canada's economy and reduce dependence on the U.S., warning voters that America's Canada, Trump's America, can no longer be trusted. His conservative rival, Pierre Poilievre, has focused on domestic issues like crime and the cost of living, blaming a decade of Liberal governance for Canada's vulnerabilities. Despite concerns about Carney's lack of political experience, recent polls show him as the frontrunner, with many Canadians believing his financial background prepares him to handle Trump's pressures. The election is expected to be closely fought, with national identity, economic stability, and relations with the U.S. at the forefront of voters' minds. Another break for sports news. Welcome back. In sports, let's tell you that Italian giants Juventus have officially pulled out of the race to sign Nigerian striker Victor Osimhen after Napoli demanded a hefty €100 million fee. Osimhen, currently on loan at Turkish champion Galatasaray, has been in sensational form this season, scoring 21 goals and providing 4 assists in just 25 league appearances. A steep asking price has also cast doubt over Premier League side Manchester United's ability to trigger his release clause, although new manager Ruben Amorim is reportedly keen on securing a prolific striker to resolve the club's ongoing goal-scoring issues. United, who have scored just 39 league goals this season, remained interested but are also exploring more affordable alternatives like Ipswich's Liam Delap. Meanwhile, Saudi Pro League club side Al Hilal has reignited their interest in Osimhen and has reportedly begun talks with its representatives. The Middle Eastern side, known for its star-studded lineup including Milinkovic-Savic, João Cancelo, and Mitrovic, appear eager to bring the Nigerian four to the kingdom. Tensions between Osimhen and Napoli president Aurelio De Laurentiis have made a summer exit from Italy increasingly likely, with Chelsea also previously linked, but now appearing less likely to secure his signature due to past failed negotiations. And finally, to entertainment news. Welcome back. We can tell you that the South-South chapter of the All Progressives Congress, APC, has given popular social media influencer Martins Vincent Ose, aka Very Dark Man, or VDM, 1 week to apologize for what it described as disparaging comments against Senate President Godswill Akpabio. In a viral video, VDM criticized Akpabio for attending the funeral of Pope Francis at the Vatican, while violent crises continued in several Nigerian states. He labeled Akpabio's trip as shameful, suggesting he should have stayed in Nigeria to address urgent issues. Reacting, APC Zonal Organizing Secretary Blessing Agbomere condemned VDM's remarks, accusing him of slander, blackmail, and character assassination under the guise of activism. Agbomere defended Akpabio's attendance, stating he was chosen by President Tinubu as Nigeria's representative due to his devout Catholic faith and unblemished character. Agbomere insisted VDM must publicly apologize and warned him against further attacks on Akpabio or the Tinubu administration. He also urged Nigerians to ignore VDM's criticisms, stressing that government was actively working to resolve the country's security issues. That's all for now on Biscon TV News, compiled and produced by Favor Ajagbe. I am Jones Hussein. Many thanks for watching.
The 4th Annual Choir Festival of Asiwaju of Remo Christians is here, and you are cordially invited. The theme for the 2025 edition is With the Voice of Singing. The Choir Festival will feature the winner of the 2024 edition, Emerald Choir, the host choir, Tabernacle Choir, 8 other competing choirs, and 20 observing choirs. Star prize 5 million naira. Second prize 3 million naira. Third prize 2 million naira. The total winning prize for this year's edition is 25 million naira, and other consolation prizes for winners in other game prompt. Venue Abraham Tabernacle, Oba Irinwole Road, GRA, Shagamu, Ogun State. Chief host His Excellency the Senator Otumba Benga Daniel, CON, the Asiwaju of Remo Christians. The Choir Festival, improving the art of singing in our churches. Media partners include TV and others. Prince Biscolatilo's 50th anniversary as a broadcaster and BOS at 25. What we are celebrating. We are celebrating 50 years of broadcasting excellence, 25 years of the BOS legacy. As the countdown begins to a double-barrel celebration like no other, we pause to reflect on a journey that began 5 decades ago. One driven by passion, professionalism, and a deep commitment to storytelling that informs, entertains, and uplifts. We are not merely commemorating the milestone of 50 years in broadcasting and 25 years that has reshaped the media landscape in Nigeria and beyond. We are celebrating the man, Prince Biscolatilo, a living legend whose name is synonymous with poise, credibility, and newsreader, and multilingual broadcaster. Prince Olatilo displayed an extraordinary gift of communication that transcended boundaries. Celebrating the birth and evolution of the Biscolatilo Show, BOS, a magazine program quickly grew into a full-fledged media powerhouse. BOS became the go-to platform for showcasing Nigeria's vibrant culture, politics, and social life. We brought events into homes before live streaming was a trend. We brought the glitz of high society, the gravitas of political discourse, and the elegance of top-tier weddings to your screens with depth and dignity. We are celebrating a revolution in event coverage. For 25 years, BOS has led the charge in transforming event reporting in Nigeria. We didn't just cover events, we curated experiences. From the corridors of policy making to the glamour of red carpets to state banquets, we've been there, telling the stories that matter. Our cameras have captured history in the making. Our voices have amplified the sounds of celebration and change. We are celebrating a brand that has traversed the length and breadth of Nigeria. From Lagos to Sokoto, from Calabar to Kano, from the South-South Creeks to the Northeast Savannah. We've taken our lenses to all 36 states of the Federation and the Federal Capital Territory, beaming the essence of Nigeria's diversity to the world. But we didn't stop there. Our brand has crossed the borders of Nigeria, taking the BOS experience to the global stage, covering Nigerian events in London, New York, Dubai, Johannesburg, and beyond. We are celebrating endurance in an industry where many have come and gone. Broadcasting is a demanding craft, and only the truly resilient survive. For Prince Biscolatilo to remain active and relevant for half a century, adapting to changing technologies, audience preferences, and content trends is no small feat. Even today, nurturing young talents and staying ahead of the curve. We are celebrating the people and the partnerships, the loyal viewers, the supporting sponsors, the dignitaries and celebrities, the clients who trusted us with their events, the team members who worked tirelessly behind the scenes, and it is a family, a movement, and a symbol of media excellence. In sum, we are celebrating a glorious past, an impactful present, and a promising future. We are celebrating a media institution that has not only reported history, but has become Biscolatilo's unmatched contribution to broadcasting and 25 years of BOS's groundbreaking journey. This is more than an anniversary. It is a national celebration, a toast to relevance, reinvention, and resilience. A toast to...
As the whole world gears up for the landmark celebration of the 80th birthday anniversary of Professor Wole Soyinka, the globally famed first African to win the prestigious Nobel Prize for Literature, whose uncommon brilliance and indelible footprints in the literary world have impacted the lives of generations of people across and climax on July 13, 2014, the day Professor Wole Soyinka The writer activist, a man of great courage and commitment, will be 80 years on earth. It was no surprise, therefore, that to jumpstart the build-up to Professor Wole Soyinka's 80th birthday anniversary celebration, the Wole Soyinka Prize for Literature, which aims to unify Africans and celebrate great minds in the continent, in tandem with the philosophy of Professor Wole Soyinka, was given a worthy pride of place. While welcoming to the gathering, which are the preponderance of literary icons, distinguished scholars, academics, activists, politicians, and other dignitaries in other spheres of life, a member of the Board of Trustees of the body known as Lumina Foundation, which organized the event, Mrs. Francesca Emmanuel, who left public service as a permanent secretary with her head high up, explained that the Wole Soyinka Prize for Literature, which is regarded as Africa's Nobel Peace Prize. This, according to her, is to edify literature as an avenue to communicate, inspire, and encourage Africans with keen interests and support for knowledge-based and charity-driven projects.
Our monthly readings of works are facilitated by our Friends Society. We also operate books, making them